Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Welcome to Thursday, which means it's Battle of the Debuts. A very popular show on the channel. People really like to get involved. And today, as it's the first Thursday of August, this month we're going to look at symphonic metal, power metal, really spinny up. So some of you probably don't know what we're talking about, but go and have a listen if you're into your power metal. So I thought I'd start with one band from the UK and one band from Italy. The bands we're talking about today are Threshold and Rhapsody of Fire, who were once called Rhapsody. It's the same band, they just changed their name. So, as usual, the band that released first goes first, and in this case it was Threshold. Now, I'm a huge fan of Threshold. They began their career back in 1988 when they initially played covers of metal groups like Rat and Testament. As they continued playing, they started to write their songs. They played their first gig in 1992 in Surrey, in a place called Egham. They've had quite there's a unique thing about this band. They've had three singers, obviously Mac, and they've got Glyn at the moment, and they've had Damien Wilson, and that's the only three singers they've had on all their albums. Damien started, then Mac, no, Glyn, Mac, Damien, and now Glyn again. It's very confusing. They've had a couple of drummers, but the people that have been there all the time are Carl Groom on the guitars, and Richard West on keyboards. So their debut album is this one that came out in 1993, and it's called Wounded Land. So on here we've got Damien Wilson singing, Carl Groom on guitars, Nick Midson on guitars, John Geary on bass, Richard West on keyboards, and this was the only album that featured the drummer Tony Grinham. So the first track on this one is called Consume to Live. Really like this thing. I love the bass line from John. It's terrific, and then you've got some great drumming here from Tony Grinham. It's a terrific track, and Damien he's singing with Arena now, and he's a great singer. So it's a really good, strong track. Days of Dearth, solid track. Damien's voice on this is amazing. It's got this evil film thing. Got some great guitar riffs here from Carl and Nick. Sanity's End, love this track. It's a long track, but you've got Richard West's great swirling keyboards, tremendous drumming on this. Fantastic track. And then got one of my favourite tracks by Threshold, and it's Paradox. It's the classic, a great arrangement. It's just Richard West's keyboards that swirl in and out. This wonderful bass line from John, and Damien's voice is absolutely killer on this. Then we have another epic, Surface to Air. It's got all the great elements of progressive metal and the symphonic sound. The keyboards are fantastic, and a great vocal from Damien. Mother Earth is next. Love the heavy riffs in this. It's absolutely killer. Siege of Baghdad, the new crusade. It's dominated by the keyboard sound. Richard West has got this unique sound, and you know it's him, and you've got these little bits of guitar work from Carl, and he's got a distinctive sound as well. Then we got the last track is Keep It With Mine. It's one of the tracks that I just don't get on with. Of all the tracks that Threshold done in their career. This is the one track that really is my bugbear. I just don't get it. It just meanders. So what do I think of this album? I think it's terrific. It's a great start. You know, you've got a great singer in Damien, and you know, he went away, came back. It's still powerful, but it's dominated by Richard West and Carl. Forgot his name. Groom, was it? Had to look. It's not that it's a good album, but it's not their best. You know, they went on to make some absolute killer albums, but it's still an album I do enjoy because it's got two of my favourite tracks by the band in Paradox and Surface to Air. So I'm going to really like this. So what did the critics say? Well, in short, this is the said that Wounded Land is a straight up solid rock music with a soulful, thoughtful side, but it's also much more. It's not their best work. It's still got rough edges, and they became what they are: greatly, highly underrated, progressive, melodic rock bands. Didn't chart, unfortunately. So, and the little review I've done is just actually off the Wikipedia page, because there's nothing written about this. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one. So, song quality, some really good songs on there. Most of it's written by Carl and Richard. It's a very good start for them. You know, they went on to write some epics, but for a debut album, very solid, apart from that last track. So I'm going to give that 4 out of 5. Production on this is superb. Lovely tones, lovely mix, everything is perfect on this. So I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. Reception. It's one of those albums that, unless you're a big fan, you're not going to know much about it. I think it's even out of print at the moment, so, but it is on Spotify if you want to go and listen to it. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. Cover design. I like the globy thing and the colours and the dark background, but the name of the album isn't there. It is, but you can hardly see it. But I do like the concept of it. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. So for Wounded Land by Threshold gives us a total of 16 out of 20. So let's move on. Now, this band, Rhapsody of Fire, who were formerly known as Rhapsody, they're an Italian symphonic power metal band formed by a chap called Luca Turulli and Alex Strapoldi, who's widely seen as a pioneer of the symphonic power metal subgenre, no less. Now, these were formed in 1993. That's the year that Threshold released their album, and they were called Thundercross, and they released 12 albums, 2 live albums and a live DVD. So they changed the name to Rhapsody, and then they changed it to Rhapsody of Fire. So this album, Legendary Tales, came out in 1997. So here we have who's playing it. So my Italian's not brilliant, so I'm going to really try and get this right. So on vocals we have Fabio Leone, guitars Luca Turulli, keyboards Alex Starpoli, drums Daniele Carbonara, something like that. Guest musicians on here are Sasha Perth, who's well known within the power metal community. He plays bass, mandolin and acoustic guitars. Robert Huneckel on bass, Manu Strapoli on baroque recorder, Thomas Rickel and Cindy Rizzo on backing vocals. Loads of people thing here. We've also got Anne Schneider on lead violin. She plays, so does Hella Davis. Oliver Kopoff viola, Paul F. Monaco cello, Andre Negfind on contrabass. So the first track on here is a little short intro called Ira Tenax. It's just one of those sort of power metal symphonic entries, just classical choral, all guns are blazing, and then it sort of goes straight in to this track called Warrior of Ice. It's absolutely amazing. The orchestral elements are great, but the strong vocal here from Fabio, absolutely killer track. Rage of Winter. What I like about this one, it's just the interplay between guitars and violins. Normally you get an interplay between keyboards and guitars, but this is between the violins. It's like a battle of the 4-string violin to the guitar. It's absolutely killer, and it really works, especially that section where they're sort of having this little battle. Forest of Unicorns is quite different from the rest. It's got some very sort of Renaissance music, a bit like, you know, Blackmore's Night sort of sound, that medieval eeriness. It's a really strong track again. Flames of Revenge, and I'm a big fan. I mean, I love symphonic rock, and along with classical band, you know, classical and rock meet together. I love all this sort of thing, and this is great. The drumming on this, wow, that sound, it's absolutely terrific. Virgin Skies, here we go, that little bit of medieval Tudor sort of interlude. Then The Land of Immortals, I love these titles, another great track, great singing here from Fabio. It's a great track. Echoes of Tragedy, really nice song, very choral, love the sound on this. Lord of Thunder, this is a great mixture of power metal and classical music. It's got such a nice melody, terrific track. And then the last track on here is my favourite, and it's the title track, Legendary Tales. So many, it's got that mixture of power metal, Renaissance music, classical music, some great guitar, some great keyboard swirls and lovely strings. It's just a fantastic, energy-filled track to the end of the album. Now, I only discovered this band about a couple of years ago, actually, and I think they're brilliant. I love it. I love, as I said, I love this sound. A lot of people don't like symphonic power metal rock, whatever you want to call it, but I love it. I think it's a breath of fresh air in this genre. So unfortunately there is nothing written about this. It's sort of been totally forgotten. Didn't chart over here in the UK. I tried to look to see if it just didn't do anything. No one wrote a thing about it. It's just been forgotten about. That's why I thought I'd do something on it, because this band are really good. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one. Song quality. Some very good songs on, and if you go and listen to their stuff, they did get better, just like Threshold. It's a very good start. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Production, it's very good. There's some of it, when you've got so much going on, I think sometimes little bits of it gets lost, and some of the tracks, although they're fantastic tracks, you don't get to hear the full potential, because they did get it right later with some of their other albums, and they even sound better. We will be doing a ranking of these probably next year. So yeah, great production. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Reception. It sank without a trace. But I've done this. When you talk about it amongst people, they go, "Yeah, everyone's heard who like this genre, do like it." So I think it's a bit of a cult following. So I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 5 because I just love this sort of sound. Cover design. Fantastic cover. That is one thing that you get with this genre. Some absolutely stunning covers. And this is just a stunning cover. The horse and the colours are right, and it really does hook you in. So I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5 because it is a fantastic cover. So for Legendary Tales by Rhapsody, who became Rhapsody of Fire, give us again a total of 16. So we have a draw today. And guess what? I'm leaving it as a draw because I can't pick between these two. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys, the Obscurians. Even if you've never listened to it, go and listen to a couple of tracks and see if you can pick the bones out of this one, because it is so hard in this genre to pick your favourites. They're both absolutely brilliant albums for debut albums. Tough one, isn't it? You know the drill though. You can go and vote in the community. Sorry, I've had a mental block there. And it'll be on the poll tonight. But go and have a listen to these bands if you've never heard them. Both the albums are on Spotify and the music is on YouTube as well. What I will do, I will put a link into on the albums in the description box so you can go and have a listen before you cast your vote. Now, talking of these bands, if you're a big fan, would you like to put one of their albums in the Battle Royale, which is coming up? Closing date is 17th of September, but there's plenty of time to get your entries in. And then Dave and I will make a little video where we'll do a draw. We'll use a wheel and we'll do it until we've got the first round, and the first round starts on the 5th of October. Now it depends how many entries we have. We might have 2 a week or even 3. Who knows? We won't know until we know how many entries we've got in. So that's all for this enthralling episode. Up next is Pick and Mix, and today it is mixing it up. So we're going to be looking at producers, and today we're going to look at metal producer Ton Alam. He's produced some fine records in his time. So I will see you later. Bye for now.